Hello friends, welcome to the day 4 of daily answer writing and mentorship program. Today the question that you were provided was what are the functions of United Nations Security Council? First part. It's a simple question. What are the functions? You write down 3-4 different kind of things which UNSC does. Second part is why is there a consistent demand for reforms and expansion of UNSC? Reforms and expansion. UNSC's consistent demand. Why is that happening? There are two things. Okay, the first, the functions of UNSC. Now, when we're talking about functions of UNSC, how will I introduce this particular question? For introduction, I'll have to start with maybe what UNSC is. UNSC is the is one of the 6 principal organizations of United Nations whose primary responsibility is to ensure international peace and security. It was formed after World War II with the purpose that the situation, World War II kind of situation, should never happen again. At preliminary level itself, the tensions should be ended. That was the primary purpose with which UNSC was formed. But how does UNSC achieve it? So, what are the key functions of UNSC? So, to ensure international peace and security, UNSC can investigate any dispute. Like, if there's a dispute between 2 African countries, UNSC may be investigating that to avoid international friction. It regulates armament. How quickly countries are gaining buying arms, it regulates that by imposing sanction or by other mechanisms. It also conducts peacekeeping operations. So in case forces have to be sent, UN peacekeeping forces have to be sent, UNSC can take that decision to prevent a war kind of situation from occurring. Then it can also impose what is known as sanction, and it can call for military action. So what are sanctions? Recently you must have heard that in 2019, Masood Azhar was included in UNSC's sanction list. So when Masood Azhar was included in this sanction regime, a lot of all the countries were supposed to impose certain restriction on Masood Azhar. Masood Azhar is a terrorist. By imposing various restrictions on Masood Azhar, we would be basically promoting international peace and security. Okay, so these are the different ways in which it promotes international peace and security. But other than this also, there are other functions of UNSC. One thing that you should know about UNSC is that it is the only UN organization which has the capability of taking binding decisions. No other no other UN organization can take a decision which is completely binding. It's only UNSC which can do that. Third, there are other functions which UNSC has. The question was about the functions of UNSC. The first is it makes recommendation on admission of new member to UN. So, if a new country is formed, will it become a member of UN? How does someone become a member of UN? Uske liye pehle recommendation of UNSC would be required. Then it also plays a role in appointment of Secretary General. It is on the recommendation of UNSC, United Nations General Assembly appoints Secretary General. Similarly, when it comes to election of judges in International Court of Justice, there also UNSC, the judge also have to get elected in UNSC, that is get support from UNSC. So a lot of other roles are also being played by UNSC. Now UNSC have all these crucial roles, but we'll see that over the years, the peacekeeping work is something that UNSC has not been able to do effectively. So there's a demand for reform, not only because it's not able to take care of the peacekeeping role effectively, but there are other reasons too. If you look at the structure of United Nations Security Council, it consists of 15 countries, of which 5 are permanent members and 10 are there for 2 years term. So these 15 people, and because the permanent members also have veto power, the 5 P5 members can prevent any military action or any step which UNSC may be wanting to take. And therefore, we are saying that this limited number of countries has been given a lot of power. This UNSC is undemocratic. In spite of the fact that most of the countries would have agreed that Masood Azhar should be included in the sanction regime, should be declared a global terrorist, because China kept on vetoing this decision, it could not be taken. Similarly, UNSC is anachronistic. Anachronistic means it's not according to the present times. Why am I saying this? Because if you would look at P5 countries, USA, UK, Russia, France, China, these were the most important countries of the world in 1940s. But today, if you look at UK and France, perhaps India has a bigger role, Germany has a bigger role, Japan has a bigger role, both in terms of economy as well as global influence. So if there's a need of permanent member, some of these countries should have been permanent member, not the countries which were important in 1940s. Then geographical distribution among of UNSC membership is also very biased. There is very less representation from Asia and Africa, high representation from Europe, especially from Western Europe, representation is really high. Then P5 countries are themselves weapon exporting countries. Why am I saying this? Now see, the role of UNSC is to ensure peace, but the main decisions which is being taken by P5 countries, they themselves are weapon exporting. So there's a conflict here. If peace would be there, weapon export would not happen. So in this way, in the role of UNSC and in the role of P5 countries as weapon exporter, there's a conflict. Finally, you would see that P5 countries themselves are involved in a lot of disputes. So all these things tell us that there's a need of reform. But reforms have been difficult for a number of reasons. Usme one factor has been what reform should take place. There's no agreement on this. So different countries want different things. For example, G4 countries are there, which says that India, Brazil, Germany, Japan, these should be given permanent membership. There's a coffee club which says that no, this should not happen. Rather, non-permanent seats should be expanded. So there's no clarity on or no consensus on what kind of demand should or what kind of changes should happen. Then reforms are also difficult because the UN Charter says that for any reform, you have to get support of 2/3 of the UNGA members and of all the P5 members. Now, P5 members who have the power right now, they would be unwilling. Anyone who has power doesn't want to share it. It's a common human tendency. So that's another reason. So because of these factors, in spite of the fact that intergovernmental negotiations have been going on since last 10 years, no outcome has come. So what should be the way forward here? Basically, when we have two questions in one particular question, and if you address both these, you will not be left with a lot of space for writing way forward, but still you can mention that the current system is kind of blocking everything, no reform is taking place. We perhaps need to come up with a new blueprint of negotiation to deal with or to come up with legitimate reforms of UNSC. Okay, this was question number 1. Question number 2 was about discuss the organizational structure of World Bank. Why has India been clamoring for reform? So here in points I have mentioned the organizational structure. Like in World Bank, there are 5 institutions: IBRD, IDIFC, MEGA. Then if you look at organizational structure, then these institutions do function like giant cooperatives. बहुत बड़ा cooperatives है, they function like that. Like every shareholder will be represented on board of governors. So here on board of governors, all the member countries and their representatives are there. What would be the share of vote by them? It will be based on the size of economy of that country. The day-to-day activities are done by these 24 executive directors. Of these 24 executive directors, 5 directors are from the largest contributors in World Bank. Then remaining 19 directors represent other contributors of World Bank. This is the organizational structure. But this structure is very much in support of developed countries, because these 5 members are also always representative of 5 largest economies, not of present time, but of the previous times. So we say that World Bank needs reform for these reasons. One, right now it is being dominated by few developed countries. Two, it's not representing the current economic scenario. If current economic scenario, especially the PPP economic, like if in terms of PPP, India is the third largest economy in the world, so it should have been one of the five largest contributor and should have had that permanent position among the 24 executive directors. Further, there are other criticisms also. World Bank, while giving loans, while giving grants, imposes a lot of restrictions which forces a country to move towards free economy and or which forces a country to move towards capitalist kind of economy, which a country may or may not want. So these are some challenges. तो यहाँ पे भी reforms की बात है. Similar kind of challenges occur here जो UNSC में है when it comes to reform of World Bank, like how reform should take place and all those things are there, which is the concern. Okay, so try to write this answer also, though this one, I am not providing a model answer for this. This one is only for practice. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Today we are completing IR. From tomorrow we'll be starting internal security. Okay, thank you very much.